Hi there, it's Peter Sidwell here in my kitchen. Easter is upon us. It is time to make the most awesome hot cross buns. I know you can get them from the supermarket, but being able to make them yourself is such a nice feeling, and we've all got time, so here's how to do it. So, first thing we need to do is weigh out 200 mils of milk. We need to warm this up. A hot cross bun is an enriched dough, which means it's got more than just water in it. It's got some fat in it, it's got some milk, that sort of thing. So, I'm using Taylor's touchless tear scales here. They're really clever. I'll show you how they work. But grams of a liquid like water or milk will be the same as mils, but you can do either unit. So I'm going to do mils and then do that, and it zeroes it. So 200 mils. And we just want to warm this up because it'll get everything going. And then we want 60 grams of butter, so we'll just zero the scales, change it to grams, and then we will see how much we've got there. So, just going to put that on a medium heat. It's got 60 grams of butter, so let's pop that onto a medium heat. There we go, that will just melt gently while we get everything else ready. So, bowl onto the scales. So for this recipe we're going to use 250 grams of strong bread flour, okay? So let's pop that in there. Okay, and then 200 grams of plain flour. So we'll zero that. So let's recap on that again. We've got 250 grams of strong bread flour. We've got 200 grams of just plain flour, which will help soften up the dough and make it really nice to eat. I'm going to put 14 grams of yeast in here, which is 2 sachets if you've got those. 50 grams of sugar. To give it that kind of rich, lovely unctuousness, I'm going to put some custard powder in, okay? You could put eggs in if you wanted to, but custard powder's a powder. It's full of eggs and vanilla and all those lovely flavours, so I just thought I'm going to go with that. I'm going to put 20 grams of custard powder in. And then I've got some mixed spice and some cinnamon. So using your hand, just blend all the flour together. So let's just pour that in. The butter's not quite melted, but it's softened and it's kind of ready. So get your hands in and just start to mix it all together. I like to use my hand in kind of like a claw motion and roll it around the bowl. Scrunch that butter in as well. Okay, and you can see that the dough kind of, it forms in a ball on your hand. And if you see, look, the bowl is relatively clean, okay? That means it's ready to transfer onto the worktop and knead. So keep kneading the dough, work it, stretch it, push it away from yourself, pull it back. And do that for about 5 minutes until you end up with a really nice smooth dough. Okay, now my dough is lovely and soft now, and smooth and ready to be left to prove. And I can tell because I can just push it like that with my thumb and it starts to stretch back. That means we've developed the gluten in there and it's now ready to prove for an hour. So pop it into your bowl that you mixed it in, cover it with cling film and leave it for an hour, and then we'll come back to it. So I've got some dried mixed fruit here, and all I've done is squeeze the orange juice from 2 easy peelers from the kids' fruit bowl, and I've put a thumb of fresh ginger, chopped up nice and fine, in here. And the idea is really that that orange juice will just soak into the dried fruit. Now I didn't have mixed fruit. I've added some sour cherries, some raisins, some cranberries, just whatever dried fruit I've got, and I've just left them there. They'll be delicious when we add those to the dough. Okay, so I have let this dough prove for an hour, and you can see, look, it's really tight. The carbon dioxide from the yeast has been created. You can see the dough. If I take this off, so we can see that the dough has doubled in size and it is really light and aerated. So let's take this dough and just knock the air out, okay? So just about pressing the air down, get it nice and flat again like it was before. Now, our dried fruit, it's all soft and soaked in now, it's lovely. smells amazing. The orange and the ginger are just gonna be lovely. So lift it out of the juices. We're actually gonna keep the remaining juice because we're gonna make that into a glaze on the top. It'll be lovely. All I'm gonna do is just push the fruit into the dough a bit and then go left into the middle, right into the middle, top into the middle and bottom. And that kind of encases all the fruit. It is gonna burst out, but it just gives you a head start. And now just work the dough and knead it like you did before and get all the fruit to incorporate into the dough. So, a little bit of flour, like teaspoon of flour. You hardly need any flour at all, just to help you sort of shape it and bring it together. Now, we're going to shape these into buns. So I'm going to take my scales. I'm going to weigh the whole dough so we can kind of work out what we need. So I've got exactly 1 kilo, okay? So if I cut these into 10, they're all going to be 100 grams each. Okay? So I want 100 gram pieces. So that's 120. Cut a bit off, pop it back on. Okay, so I've got my dough here. I'm going to take each piece. These are 100 grams each, okay? No flour on my hands, no extra flour on the roll. Put it into your hand like that. Put your hand on top and then just start to rub them together like that in opposite directions. Do you see? Like that. Yeah? And then as the dough starts to form into a ball, close your hand like that. Okay? And you end up with a nice round bread roll. There we go. Pop that onto there and then just repeat. If you have a look on this one here, there's a cherry there and a raisin there. Take those off, tuck them underneath, and then put them down, because if they stay on the outside, they will burn because they're quite high in sugar. So just tuck any dried fruit that you can see that you think that's gonna burst, that's gonna burn. Okay? So we are now gonna leave these to prove for about 45 minutes. We will then make our crosses and we will bake at 180 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, the hot cross buns have proved up. As you can see, they are doubled in size. They're lovely and light and fluffy. Last thing to do before we bake them is put the crosses on. So I've got some plain flour here. So I'll just put that to one side. Got some water, a couple of tablespoons to start with. You might find you need a little bit more, but just stir it together. And we're just trying to make a batter really that we can pipe, okay? So just stir it, almost sort of pancake batter texture. So just keep mixing it together, but you don't want it to be too runny because otherwise it won't hold its shape when you pipe the crosses. So for me, that's kind of about right, okay? That will work. Look for that texture. Okay, I've got a disposable piping bag here. I'm just going to pop that straight in and then just snip the end off. If you're using a traditional piping bag, just be careful it doesn't drop out the bottom. And then let's just test. Yep, that's good. And then start off the bun and just let it drip over like that. And then let it drip off the bun and then bring it over. And I'm going to carry on this side. Don't try and rush this. These hot cross buns are going to go into a preheated oven, 180 degrees, for about 25 minutes till they're lovely and golden. Then, when they come out of the oven, I'm going to brush them in this syrup. So what I took was a couple of tablespoons of sugar. The orange liquid that I soaked the dried fruit in, I kept. Put it in with the sugar, boiled it up so I've got a lovely flavoursome syrup there to brush on top. Now, if you want the recipe for this, go to kitchencraft.co.uk and you'll find it there.